We're very happy to have in studio today Wolfgang Cutter, and Wolfgang is going to tell us a little bit about the Berlin Airlift. Wolfgang, you were born so that you were a small child during the war.
Yeah. Well, I was born in 1935 in Berlin, Germany. Mm-hmm. We moved out of Berlin, when I say we, my family, during the last few years of the war, and came back to the city in 1946.
And after the war, the Allies divided Germany into 4 sectors. What was that about?
Yes, by previous agreement, Germany was divided into 4 zones, the Soviet zone, the French, British, and American zones.
Right.
Berlin, the capital of Germany, was inside the Soviet zone.
Right.
So almost like a little island in the Red Sea. But also Berlin was divided into 4 sectors, controlled by the 4 allies, the Soviets, the British, French, and Americans. Now, West Berlin was economically progressing, whereas the East, which was under control of the communists, was not progressing at all.
Wow. Now you were living in Berlin. How old would you have been when this started?
I would be 12,
okay.
12 to 13.
So you remember it well.
Yeah, I remember.
What were the people in Berlin feeling about all this? Especially, you were in West Berlin, right?
Well, everybody knew what it would mean to live under the Soviets, and they had all the hope, which fortunately happened, that West Berlin would be free and stay free. So Clay suggested, since everybody thought that blockade will last maybe a couple weeks or so, to supply West Berlin through the air.
Okay.
At the before the blockade, about 15,000 tons of food and supply came into Berlin every day.
Wow.
Now, that was impossible.
By train and truck and
waterways,
like
barges, there's
yeah.
very many canals and waterways into Berlin. And everybody said that's impossible.
Can't fly that much stuff in.
Yeah. There were, of course, some supplies in Berlin, and Clay thought they could maintain enough food supplies for a couple of weeks or so. Well, the U.S. Air Force, and again, there were some very influential people, thought that's a challenge, and we'll take up that challenge, and we'll supply the people through the air.
Wow.
Unbelievable feat by the American Air Force. At the height of the airlift, as it was called, about every 40 seconds, an airplane would land in an airport in the center of Berlin. Fortunately, that airport was on the western side.
Right.
So they had access to an airport in West Berlin.
And where were they flying these flights in from?
Munich, Frankfurt, and a small city in the north, Celle. There were 3 air corridors, and at the beginning, you can imagine, it was a total chaos.
Right.
Until
every 40 seconds, that's pretty close.
Every 40 seconds.
Wow.
And the Soviets, of course, were sure that this could not be maintained through the winter. The blockade started in June, and they thought the latest by November, when the heavy fogs and snow and rain, which you experience in Northern Europe,
because you can't land in some of that.
Will kill it, you know.
Right.
And fortunately for us, that was not the case, and the American Air Force, British and French too, to some extent, supplied West Berlin. Of course, we had much less food available.
What was happening among the people of Berlin and your school compatriots and all that? How were people feeling about it?
Well, the Berliners knew what it would mean to live under Soviet domination. And of course, they were very supportive. And
there was no way of you guys, if you should want to leave Berlin, you couldn't get out.
No, there was no way getting out. One of these flights, a Lieutenant Haverson, he, before landing into Tempelhof Airport, opened one of the cargo doors against all Air Force regulations, of course, and threw out chocolate. Now, I have to say, a lot of people in West Berlin and a lot of children were always at the airport watching the planes to come in because they flew very, very low, and you know, it was a sight to be seen.
Was there any thought that the Soviets would shoot the planes down?
Yes, there was, and there were incidents of collisions. There were, I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think 43 airmen lost their lives.
Really?
Yeah, it was
Right.
crashes, it was Soviet intervention. They launched balloons to disturb the airways.
Yeah.
So yes.
Back to the chocolates, though.
So the chocolate story, he threw out chocolate, and of course the kids picked it up real quick. He went back, didn't get court-martialed, but he had a dressing down, but convinced his superiors that they should continue it.
Oh.
And for months, Harrison and his other airmen, his comrades, dropped chocolate every time they flew into Berlin.
Wow.
Word spread, and hundreds of children came to the airport to pick up the chocolate.
It would just hit the ground and break open.
I was one of them there.
Oh,
And so I have some personal experience and memories about it.
Thank you once again, Wolfgang.
Okay, thank you.